Also, just getting to sing Babushka on like primetime TV, like dressed as a unicorn, was, I just wanted to, because I also knew the UK hadn't seen this show before. It was the first season. In America, we'd had it for a few seasons, so like I sort of knew the drill of it. But I was like, I can't wait to get on the first episode and sing Babushka, and just like, I just wanted to imagine people at home being like, what the fuck is this?
Hi, my name's Nick Levine, and I'm joined by Jake Shears for the latest in Enemies in Conversation series. How's it going today?
Great, thank you very much. It's a beautiful day here. I'm sitting in a hammock on, on a lake, so not so bad.
Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Montauk in the Hamptons. I'm doing a gig here tonight, so I'm just out here for like 24 hours.
Nice place to do a gig.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Really close to New York. I'll be getting back to New York this weekend for Pride, so excited about that. First Pride in a while.
Yeah, exactly. First in a couple of years. Well, you've just dropped an amazing new single, Do the Television. And my understanding is the song originated in a Scissor Sisters session from 12 years ago.
Yeah.
What made you want to kind of dust it off, rework it, and put it out now? Why was now the time?
There's a whole bunch of stuff that not a whole bunch, but there's a few things that I've had in my back pocket, just waiting for the right moment for. And there will always be those things, there's always ideas that you keep around, that you write, that maybe aren't perfect for the moment, or aren't quite done, or just the idea is a sketch. And then you sort of, when the moment comes, you're like, oh, this could be really cool right now. I used to not really be into that, sort of revisiting prior ideas, but now I think it's really important. And the amount that I write, and I'm writing stuff. I was just in Iceland for a few weeks writing stuff that I don't know what it's for. I don't know when it's for. I know it's not for writing right now, but I write a lot. So I think it's important to and I write in all different styles. So certain things make more sense. And this is a song that the concept and and just the song itself, I always really loved and wanted to do something with, but it never had a chorus. The original song was very different. The original sort of sketch was really different. It didn't have that big lift. It didn't really have that sort of funky, like sort of Lionel Richie vibe towards the end with the funky bass and all that stuff. It was a very different song. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, and I'm really happy with the response of it.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people share it on like Instagram story and stuff. It seems like it's getting like a lot of play, basically.
Cool.
It kind of captures the moment. It's a great song for Pride Month, and the fact it's got this disco-y sound that we've kind of had sort of come back over the last year. It just kind of feels like it's kind of found its moment.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm I've been making a lot of dance music, which I'm super excited about. But it's I hope this sort of vibe kind of continues. I mean, it's always sort of been in my wheelhouse, it's always something that I like. It's a well I will always kind of go back to.
Does that feel like a direction that the next album could kind of go in? Could it be quite dancey?
Oh, it's I'm making a party record.
Really?
Yes.
What made you want to do that? Like, I'm gonna make a flat out party record.
It just feels time. It feels time. I feel like my last album was really like, I had been through a ton. I'd been through like many transitions and life changes, and it was a super personal record, and it was sort of this, it was stylistically something I'd always wanted to make. But I mean, I'm good. I like making party music, and I think I'm pretty good at it. And it's fun for me. So I think it was just time. I mean, one of my heroes is Beck, of course, and I always love that he will make something emotional and sort of deep and kind of serious, and then he'll go on and make, you know, a really ridiculous kind of semi-absurdist party record. You know, he's sort of, and that's really inspiring to me.
How is the album coming along? Does it feel like it's, I mean, maybe you don't want to put a time frame on it, but does it feel like it's almost there, or is it very much a work in progress still?
No, it's almost there.
It's almost there.
Yeah.
Wow. How many tracks have you recorded?
Oh, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say, but it I've been having a lot of fun with it, and you know, there's things that I've really kept close to my chest for a long time that I've waited for, you know, television being an example of, that I've really waited for the right moment, that it just hasn't felt like the right moment, like things that I'm like, this is so good, and you know, I've been sort of building off of that.
Do you find it quite like, do you find that you, when you do get to the stage where you think I'm making an album, do you find that like the direction kind of tends to present itself quite easily, or because you've got this back catalogue and people have a certain expectation of what you sound, is it a case that sometimes you kind of get in your head a bit and think, you know, is this what I should be doing? Do you second guess yourself, or are you quite instinctual?
I think I'm pretty instinctual. Like I sort of follow just this when I'm writing, like I follow the songs that I'm in love with. Like if I write something that I really love, like I sort of follow that trail. If I write something I'm ambivalent about, I just sort of like sweep it to the side, and you know, which happens plenty of times. And it's like when I write those songs that I love playing for my friends, that I'm super excited about, that when they progress in their production, you know, that I love listening to, that's sort of that, then I could just kind of keep following that lead.
And once you kind of get in that groove, you just keep following it.
Yeah, and I make songs that are in conversation with one another. You know, one will kind of inspire the next. You know, and then it's like a puzzle with an album. It's like you've got these things, and you're just like, okay, now what is the dream? What is the last piece here? What is the dream that I have for this last piece on this album? I don't know if anybody ever thinks about this shit this way anymore, but I do.
I think, I mean, you can always tell when someone's thought about the sequencing of an album. Like if it ends with like a song that feels like a close, or it starts with something that's quite, I always admire an artist who puts like a really kind of bolshy, provocative song at the start. It makes a statement. I think like one of Charlie XCX's albums, the first track, like the chorus is "fuck you, sucker," and I think that kind of tells you a lot about what the album's going to be like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Putting that on track 1 as opposed to like burying it on track 9.
Yeah.
You know, your last solo album had loads of like live instruments on it, like brass strings, and I remember you saying that it was like super expensive to make. Is that the path you've gone down this time, or because it's a party record, is it more electronic?
Oh, you know, I think, you know, television is a really good example of just, you know, you know, I love the production in that song, and it's got like a real warmth to it. You know, it's got a real warmth. There's definitely like some fingerprints on it. It's also very, you know, it's also an electronic dance song, I guess, in its way too.
Yeah.
I've always made a mixture of it. It's definitely not like, it's, you know, television obviously sounds completely different from the last thing I was doing, but I'm always going to be one that, like, you know, tries to do my best to make a left turn when I can.
Yeah, I think it keeps things interesting. You've also been working on this musical with Elton John about Tammy Faye Baker. How would, like, in Britain, like, I don't think she's a super well-known figure. I think, you know, some people might kind of have an awareness, but we don't really have like the televangelist culture. Like, what is it about her that makes her kind of such an interesting figure to kind of write a musical about?
You know, I think she's an interesting figure because she comes from this very sort of conservative chapter in American history, yet, you know, brought this kind of secularism into her faith, and was so open and non-judgmental, and really reached out, and really, you know, had an amazing relationship with her faith. And you know, I think as a gay guy, and I think a lot of gay guys, you know, we love our tragic heroines. And we really identify with them. And she was an amazing woman, and she went through a lot, and she managed to bring a lot of joy to people and a lot of joy to the world amidst basically losing everything. I really believe she was a wonderful person, and I really hope, I want this thing that we're making to, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everyone's, and she wasn't perfect, but I hope that, my hope for the show is that it really, holds her up in the light I think she deserves.
And how's work going on it? Like, are you still kind of very much in the middle of writing it?
It's going great. I was just in London, and stuff is moving. Musicals take forever, but I'm really like, it's hitting like a exciting point.
Yeah,
like, at the moment.
I've heard that musicals, it's like, 10 years is not a long time to get from like start to like actually like putting it on. That's like
they crawl. They crawl. It's just it's the most archaic art form, I think. It's the most complicated and archaic art form in a way. Just the amount of people it takes to do them, the amount of schedules that have to lay right on top of each other, the amount of the way everyone has to be in sync. Anything and everything could go askew. So it really does. They do take a lot of time to make right. But I'm very excited about it, and just really proud to be writing a musical with Elton John.
What is it like? How does the writing process work? Because I think we all know like how he writes with Bernie, which is that Bernie maybe it's not fax anymore, but used to fax over the lyrics and Elton sits there and write. Like, how do you write with him? Are you in the same room, or is it like back and forth over email?
No. I sort of hide around a corner for like 3 minutes. He makes me get out of his vision, and then I slowly start to creep into the room. And then finally sneak behind him like while he's on the piano. And it's a lot of fun. We have so much fun together. I just got to see him yesterday for, I just through COVID and everything, I haven't gotten to see him for such a long time. And I had lunch with him and John Grant yesterday. And it was just so fantastic to get to see him. And I love him so much.
If he plays something that you're not into, can you say that to him, or is that not possible? Because I don't think I could say, I like what you're doing, Sir Elton John.
We talk. It's always, there's a conversation going. I mean, he and I have written a bunch of stuff together, so there is a conversation going while it's, and when his fingers land on the right chords, we both know it.
Was the first thing you wrote with him I Don't Feel Like Dancing, or was there anything before?
We had been writing some other stuff. We were writing at Caesar's Palace in Vegas in like 2005. And then, we'd been putting ideas down and whatnot, but that was the stuff on Tada was like the first, the kind of main stuff back then that we wrote together.
Well, I guess you're kind of long-time collaborators now, really, in a way.
I think so. I think so. I'm very comfortable with him and working with him.
Did you see his performance at the Brit Awards with Ollie Alexander from Years and Years?
Yeah, it was awesome.
What did you think of it?
It was exciting. It was great, and it was, I love bringing that song out. Ollie is, an incredible performer. Getting up on the piano, and it's a queer song made by two, and sung by two queer people, at a big event. I don't know. I thought it was great, and it was awesome to see what it did. It go to number one the next week on the charts?
Yeah, I think it did really well streaming.
Yeah.
When you not to get too grandiose about things, but when you see a performance like that, do you think? I guess you don't want to feel like you're patting yourself on the back, but do you feel like what Scissor Sisters did, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, kind of helped move the dial a little bit so that a performance can now take place like that in the main?
I mean, I'd hope so. I'd I hope so. I'd be sad if it didn't. You know, we had to have been good for something.
You just sent out on the text saying you're welcome.
No, no, but I mean, I think of that in regards to, like, you know, younger performers. I don't think of that like when I think of Elton, but
Yeah.
you know, when I look at you know, younger queer people, and it makes me feel good. It makes me feel really happy. I've just become friends with this um singer from America named Jake Wesley Rogers, um who I just love so much, and he's 23. And you know, we spent a weekend together in New Orleans. He was hanging out down there for a few weeks, and somebody called me and was like, "You got to meet this guy." And we just got on so well, and I don't know, it was so nice to spend time with someone who's basically 20 years younger than I am, like just about to pop with talent, and you know, and absolute faggotry at the same time. You know, I don't know, it was really exciting. I look at him, and I feel very excited for our, you know, queer people's future as performers and entertainers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like over time, hopefully, you always kind of think things are moving in a positive direction. But I think when you see something like what Ollie and Elton did at the Brits, and also what Lil Nas X did on SNL, like that would have been unthinkable 5 years ago, and it really does show how much progress has been made in the last few years, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's funny, like the Lil Nas X stuff even made me clutch my pearls in an amazing way. You know, in a good way, but yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think as with so much stuff now, the first awareness I had of that performance is like I opened up Instagram, I saw some like screenshots or some gifs of it, and I was like, okay, like he's gone there. And then I watched the whole performance, I was like, okay, yeah, he really went there.
Yeah.
The stills didn't quite do it justice. It was like the confidence with which he did it as well, the kind of swagger on top of the visuals. It was just like, whoa.
Yeah. Agreed.
Another amazing project you've got in the works is you're an investor in a new nightclub in New York called The Q, which is literally about to open. What made you want to get involved with that?
This guy Frankie Sharp, who's just kind of like a queer nightlife impresario in New York, who I've always been a big fan of, who I've been a friend, and I love so much what he does. I knew he was starting it. I knew it was being built, and he approached me about being a part of it. And I just thought it was a great idea. And I feel like it's something that New York really needs. It's a big queer club in the middle of Manhattan, which those things, you know, I moved to New York in '99, and you know, we had a bunch of them back then. There were a ton of big clubs you could go to, and they're all gone.
Yeah.
They're all gone. I mean, there's stuff out in Brooklyn, but in the center of, you know, in Manhattan and stuff, there isn't really much that's kind of, you know, there's just not many big spaces like that. So I just thought it'd be awesome to be a part of it. And, you know, I think New York nightlife is just a very a big city nightlife in general, London nightlife. It's where a lot of talent and personalities are born, including my own.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if I would be the person that I am without sort of starting out in New York nightlife. So it's just exciting for me to get to kind of put back some energy and love into that world, and hopefully, you know, it'll be a place of joy and inspiration for you know, kids that were my age, and you know, for the 21-year-old that comes to New York from wherever.
I think, you know, the thing is, like, nightclubs are such an important place for people to find themselves, and obviously, you know, in some cases people like you find themselves there and go on to become performers, but just feel like anybody who wants to isn't quite sure who they are, that you need that kind of space to be able to just kind of experiment and have fun and be loose and like find out what you're about. And when those places don't exist, I feel like how are people going to do that?
Yeah, and not and get into music and hear good stuff and become, you know, that's how you know, it's a big way of discovering wonderful music and great DJs and finding what you're into, you know, in regards to dance music. And I think that's really important as well.
How hands-on do you want to be at the club? Like, do you want to DJ there, or does that feel a bit like crossing a line?
No, I just got my new you know, Pioneer CDJ 3000s, and I'm super fucking excited to just get my fucking hands all over as soon as I get back to New Orleans. So no, I really hope to get to throw parties and perform in there, and you know, yeah, I want to utilize the fuck out of that space.
And how integral is drag going to be to the club? Because, you know, like, I think bars and clubs have just started to open in London, you know, and all over the UK, and they're not kind of operating as clubs exactly, but people are back in them. And what we found is, because obviously, like, all the poor drag performers haven't been able to perform for over a year, they're really going for it now. So it feels like drag is really having a moment in the UK. You know, RuPaul's Drag Race is part of that.
Yes.
Is that something you're going to tap into in the queue?
Absolutely. I mean, there is the bottom floor that you walk into is a performance space.
Wow.
That's going to have different things in it on every night, and drag shows and weekly shows. We're gonna have so many fucking drag performances, you know. It's just gonna be a big giant ball of wigs kind of coming out the front entrance. And I personally am like super happy to have, like, I love having a separate space for performances and then a separate space for dancing. It drives me crazy a lot of times when there's like performances interrupting your dance floor. It gets on my tits. So I'm stoked that it's got, you know, we've got designated spaces.
Are you someone who, like, if you're on a night out in a big club where there are different spaces, are you someone who kind of ping pongs between all the different rooms, or do you tend to find a space that you like and stay there?
Oh God, it just depends. Depends on what's going on, where I am. Yeah.
I used to have a friend who, in heaven, like, if a song came on that they didn't like, they'd be like, right, we're moving. So I felt like I spent the whole night up and down the stairs, because he was like Goldilocks. Like, if there was one song you didn't like, we had to move.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I'm not into that. My favorite kind of night is when you find one spot, the music's fucking great, you know, you're not getting like bottlenecked in the crowd, you know, and you're not getting too squished. That's really satisfying to me.
Have you had, over the years, any particularly memorable nights out in the UK? Any that like spring to
Ooh, have I ever? You know, there was a real you know, I always loved going to room service. It was so fun. And, you know, love Jody. And that was always a blast, and like just a really like you know, London nightlife, there's something really kind of like, it can really get seedy real quick, which I love. You know, one of my favorite nights was I was DJing at was it called East Block?
Yeah.
I was doing a 3 a.m. DJ set at East Block, and that was like one of my favorite nights out, just being in there, playing in there. It was just one of the, you know, it's a great room. It was so sweaty and sexy and, you know, druggy and fun. That was one of my favorite nights in London.
It's one of those places that feels like it could only be in London in a way. Like, it kind of, you know, it was, what was it, like below a Turkish restaurant, and you couldn't even pay on a card, you had to have cash. Like, it was like, it felt kind of a bit underground.
Yeah, I love that vibe.
And you never knew who you were going to see in there.
Like me.
I just remember they used to do like really, really niche, beyond niche nights. Like, they did like a night dedicated to Girls Aloud album tracks. So it was for like fans who were so into the band that they didn't want to hear the singles out. It's like, that is super niche.
I like that.
Why do you think like
That's fun.
UK's always kind of been your biggest audience, like right from Scissor Sisters days? Obviously, like Scissor Sisters broke first in the UK. Why do you think like you and the UK have had this kind of like close relationship throughout your career?
You know, I just think it's like sort of this. It has to do with sort of the history of pop music in the UK, and you know, the sort of legacy of the charts. And I think that there's always been room for things that are a little bit different. And I feel like UK music has always sort of been, you know, a trendsetter of whole eras. I mean, you think back when like Scissors, you know, it was such a, like, you think about all the other acts that were going on at the same time, and it was just it was such an era.
Mm.
You know, you had Franz Ferdinand and Amy Winehouse and fucking Snow Patrol, and I don't know, there were so many great kind of garage bands. And you know, I just feel like the UK's always had room for alternative music, and things are a little bit different. So I think it was, you know, it was a good fit. And the fact that we just got signed there.
Yeah.
You know, and Polydor like made, you know, wrung out every last drop they could of us in a great way. And you know, we were all determined to do it.
Was it strange for you as an American band to be signed in the UK? Did that feel a bit kind of topsy-turvy to you, or did you just like grab the opportunity?
Yeah, no, it was just super exciting.
Super exciting.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I was just like stoked.
You mentioned Amy Winehouse. I think it's coming up to the 10th anniversary of her death. Do you have any memories of her from the time? I honestly feel like you could. I'm not even going to say it's arguable. I think she probably is the most influential artist of her era. Like, it feels like almost every artist, whatever genre they're working in, will cite her as an influence, which is amazing.
Yeah. I do have like just a couple little memories. You know, I didn't really know her, but I was around her some. My favorite memory is probably just early on. Like, we did like a tour of basically like end of year college banquets and stuff. With, you know, it was Amy Winehouse, us, and Ash headlining. These like you know, these college dinners, you know, for like 200 people. And I like thinking back to that, just because, you know, you never know where everything's going to end up. You know, it was just like early days, and I think about her during that time, and yeah, I'm playing those shows with her. It's a cool memory.
What were those shows like? Were the crowd quite up for it, or was it like, if it's a formal dinner, were they a bit kind of sort of staid?
No, I think by the time like the music is on, everyone's like sort of drunk and wanted to have fun.
I also wanted to ask about The Masked Singer. When you look back to doing it now, does it feel a bit like a fever dream, or like, do you have like crisp memories of it?
Oh, I have very crisp memories of it. It was kind of my last time performing, you know. It was so fun. I loved doing it. It was like being in a like a surrealist novel or something. Yeah, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and I had a great time doing it. And I just got very into it. I was just like, from the get-go, I was like, I am gonna just really work at this. And also just getting to sing Babushka on like primetime TV, like dressed as a unicorn, was, I just wanted to, because I also knew the UK hadn't seen this show before. It was the first season. In America, we'd had it for a few seasons, so like I sort of knew the drill of it. But I was like, I can't wait to get on the first episode and sing Babushka, and just like, I just wanted to imagine people at home being like, what the fuck is this? I was truly bummed out when I got booted off the show.
How hard
I
was
was
it?
Devastated.
Would you do another edition? Because there's all sorts of international editions now, and I think there's a British pop star currently on Masked Singer Spain. I don't think she's been on Masked, but everyone thinks they know who it is. So you could do it again.
I think once. I loved it, but once is plenty.
How hard was it to keep a secret that you were on there? Like, A, when you were shooting it, and then obviously for like the months before it went out, was it quite tricky?
It was just tricky in London. I mean, you just couldn't tell anybody.
Mm.
You couldn't. It was really weird. It was just very strange. You just couldn't tell. I mean, it was very serious, like that kind of sort of lockdown. And you know, when you were there, it was just when you were on set, you had to completely cover everything. You had to cover your hands, you know, wear this like welder's helmet, and yeah, it was full on. But it was definitely a fun game.
Did you try and disguise your voice a lot, or did you just try and sing the song the best you could?
I mean, if you can even just sing the song in the first place, you're doing okay. I mean, it's just, there's no, like, once you're in there in front of an audience and it's, you know, your nerves are there. You can't breathe in those things. And I mean, and it really is like performing in like a diving bell suit or something. Like, you cannot see anything. You can only hear through your in-ear monitors. You can't touch anything. It's like all your senses are just gone. And you somehow have to, like, you know, perform. And I'm a very expressive performer, so it was just a huge challenge for me, but I like that challenge. It was just a bit of silly fun, but I had a really good time.
I guess you would have no sense of how the audience were reacting to it if you can't see and hear what's going on. You can't really tell if they're into it.
No, and it's also very strange to be performing in front of people and like knowing that you're completely anonymous. It's like a once in a lifetime sort of sensation.
That must be,
you know what I mean? It was just very surreal. It was just really, really like, you just had these moments where you're like, this is so just a very strange sensation.
Something else, I haven't got too many more questions. Something else I did want to ask about is next year, the final to date Scissor Sisters album, Magic Hour, turns 10. And what we've seen a lot in the last few years is artists and bands, you know, reissuing past albums on vinyl for anniversaries, maybe with, you know, previous unreleased tracks, maybe not. Is that something you'd be interested in doing, like an expanded version or like just a reissue of Magic Hour?
Yeah, I would love to. Anytime we can kind of like, but that's like it's just totally a record label thing. It's like, I would have loved to have done that with Nightwork. I would have loved that, you know, but it's like, that's Polydor, you know.
Really?
They've got, you really don't have any, you know, so if they get the idea or something, but it's really up to them, but I would love to. I can't believe it's 10 years old. I mean, that's just fucking weird.
It's not something where you can like send them an email and say like, I'd love to do this. It's got to kind of come from them.
I mean, I guess I could. I mean, I mentioned that I really wanted to do something for Nightwork's 10th, but nothing ever really materialized.
I feel like you'll definitely get a call in 2024 when the debut turns 20. They'll really want to rinse that.
I hope so. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. But hopefully, you know, I hope Scissors can kind of, I really want to make another Scissors record. I don't know when that's going to be, but.
But you can see it happening.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like, in a certain way, I just feel like I'm still doing it, you know, because I'm just like, I feel like I'm making the music I would be making if Scissor Sisters was still together, in a way. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be exactly the same, but that's just sort of how I feel about it. I mean, the music that I make now, I feel like is still Scissor Sisters.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny when people are like clamoring for new Scissor Sisters music. I'm like, it's right there.
Well, yeah, I mean, like 3 of the band are credited on the new single, like songwriting, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of almost is.
Yeah. And, you know, Baby Daddy still writes with me. And I mean, he and I wrote most of the stuff in the first place.
What would it take for a full band reunion? Is it just a case of everyone being on the same page and being able to kind of sync diaries? Is it as simple as that? I
think so. I think everybody would need to want to. I don't want to twist anybody's arm.
Yeah.
That's just like no fun.
And it would be new music rather than thinking like, let's do a big anniversary tour or something.
I don't think I would be into that. I would want to make new music.
It's got to come from a kind of creative space.
Yeah. That would mean so much more to me. I don't want to just come back out and be, peddling our old wares. Not that anybody is ever really interested in new music anyway, especially with like sort of heritage artists or legacy bands or whatnot. They all want the old hits, but I still would at least try to have a shot of like making some great music.
It's a really kind of interesting time, I think, for kind of pop acts who, like, if you call them legacy, heritage, because they've kind of got like this kind of dual career where they will do a tour where people probably want to hear the hits, but there's a hardcore fan base who want the new music and also probably want to buy it on like 12 formats. So it's this odd two-level kind of fan base for a lot of big acts now, big pop acts.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a good way of describing it.
And yeah, well, one more question. We spoke about one of your longtime collaborators, Elton, and obviously the Scissor Sisters. Kylie is someone who you've written with on and off through the years. Is there any more writing sessions with Kylie in the works? Could that happen again?
Well, I was super bummed out that like the sessions that Baby Daddy and I were going to do with her for Disco landed right when everything was getting locked down. So that was pretty devastating to me because I was really excited about those sessions. Yeah, you never know.
Because I mean, I Believe in You in a way could almost be like on Disco.
Maybe so. Yeah.
It's certainly like a descendant of that album in a way. An older
yeah, I hope to get to do more stuff with her. I think that's a possibility.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for your time.
Cheers.